Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. I'm Bill Horan, along with my co-host, Riya Panel.
Bill, I hope you're ready. We're taking a trip back to the future style because today we're going into our time machine, taking it up to 88 miles per hour and going back in time, back into WHPC's past.
This is exciting.
Yes, it is, because we are going to talk to someone who used to work here at the radio station and graduated from Nassau Community College and is now, wait for it, an author of a book all about his career in radio.
Our guest today is Cosmo Leone, and he is the author of Yes, It's Cosmo. Cosmo, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
I really appreciate it, Bill and Riya. I feel like I'm going back in time. Great intro, Riya. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Coming from you.
Now, Cosmo, we want to have a lot of fun today. First of all, I think that's a great title for a book. As I said to you before the show, Yes, It's Cosmo. I'm a book person. If I see that book in the bookstore, I've got to pick it up and start looking at it because I want to know what it's about. But take us back to start off with. You worked here at WHPC. When and what was it like then?
Well, for Riya's sake today and the audience that is young, I'm going to be mentioning things, Bill, that you and I might know. But I first got started in 1977. I was one of those kids. I grew up in Levittown, New York, and I was one of those kids who would lock myself in my room and play radio. I was blessed at the time, growing up as a baby boomer, living, stone's throw from Manhattan, listening to the greatest radio stations, WABC, WINS, WMCA. Those were the stations that really formulated my interest. I just loved hearing the excitement coming through the speakers, the jingles, the great contests. I said, man, this would be kind of a cool gig. The other thing that got me interested to going down to WHPC, I'm a big New York sports nut. Marv Albert was my hero as a sportscaster, play-by-play. My dad used to yell at me.
Let's go Knicks.
Knicks, Rangers. My dad used to yell at me to turn the dang radio off, go to bed. My father, God rest his soul, he had like a sixth sense that he knew I had my Panasonic underneath the covers, but he became a big fan. So I graduated in 1976 at Levittown Memorial. I went to Nassau after that, starting in 77. And went down to the radio station after my first semester and introduced myself to one of my mentors, Jim Green. And I asked him about getting involved in the program. I told him what I wanted to do with my life. And he said, well, we're going to have an intro program during the summer and leave your phone number. And I will call you when we get the program up and running. So basically, it was an introduction to people who wanted to get to work at the radio station. I'm sure you have some sort of program like that now. So what happened, I got a phone call. That summer was one of the most crazed I had because I was working 12-hour days. Across the street from me on Wanta Avenue, there used to be an A&P that was out for 2 years. They had closed it up, and a gentleman bought the building, and he wanted to make it an IGA supermarket. So a friend of mine named Rob Delaney, we worked there for about 12 hours a day. I did a course at night, a history course, so I was running ragged. And then I got a phone call end of July, hey, we're starting this course up in August. If you're interested, I said yes. And I went down, and I had no idea how many people were going to be there, but the intro course at WHPC was 30 people. And I'm looking around like, wow, there's a lot of people here in this small building. And I know you folks have new facilities, and you're in a different building now, but just to share, going down to the old area of the radio station, I used to call it the dungeon because it was a long hallway with very little lights and drab-colored walls. But once I got through the door to WHPC, everything was bright and exciting. Going into the control room for the first time, I'll never forget it, the BU meters, turntables on the side, cart machines. I'm like, this is pretty darn cool. And we had a room right across from the control room that had probably 5,000 albums. So I was like, this is better than applying to Columbia Record House. So that was kind of my first introduction to the station, and got into the program that way.
It's an interesting background. I wonder how many people remember Columbia Record House and
definitely not me.
What is it? Records of the month you would get, and you'd get free ones when you signed up, something like that. So I'll have to tell Rhea about it after the show.
Yeah, please geek out all about it.
And by the way, things have not changed too much here. We have more trophies than the trophy case, and actually, when you were here, we didn't even have a trophy case. But we've been, thanks to our director, Sean Novak, we've been winning quite a few of them lately. So it has changed a little bit, and come down and take a look at it sometime. But tell us, where did you go on after your stint at Nassau Community? What was life like?
So what happened was, I'll just go back a couple of things with WHPC. I got my bones, so to speak, as a producer first. Jim Green wanted me to work on my diction a little bit, which he was 1,000% right. I started recording a lot of the shows for different college professors, which was kind of neat. Got to know a few of them. From then on then I went into doing a couple of different shows. And from there, I did some sports work. When you have students at a college radio stations, whether you're an adult or not, everybody makes mistakes. I'll give you my best story, which went into my worst story. That went into a great story, if I could, because you'll get a kick out of this. After my first 6 months at WHPC, it was coming close to Christmas break, and I told one of my best friends, who was an incredibly talented radio personality at the station, his name was Rich Zizzi. I said, Rich, I feel like I need to do something like really big before Christmas break. And he goes, what are you thinking of? And I'm a diehard New York Ranger fan, so that automatically puts me in heaven, since they played lousy the last years. I said, maybe, Rod Gilbert, my all-time hockey idol, just retired. He got bumped up into the Rangers front office. Maybe I can get him for an interview. So I tried to think analytically. This is my first big thing. So the Rangers had a well-known public relations man named John Halligan. So I called the Garden, asked for John Halligan, thinking that, hey, John will set this up. So, John, my name is Cosmo Leone. I work at WHPC in Garden City, New York radio. He goes, how are you? I said, hey, I was wondering if you can hook me up and give me an interview. I'd like to interview my hero, Rod Gilbert. John Halligan's words were this, and I quote, what the heck are you calling me for? Here's his phone number. And I'm like, So that was interesting. So I got the number, and Rod Gilbert answered, and he couldn't have been any nicer. And he said to me the following, do you want me to come to you, or would you like to come to the Garden? I said, I'll come to you, because it's Madison Square Garden. So he says, great, here's a day I'm available this work. And I said, absolutely. So I get off the phone. I tell Rich, I'm going to interview Rod Gilbert. And he goes, oh, man, this is awesome. So we went into Jim Green's office, the program director. He goes, that's great. So Rich goes, hey, can I come with you? I'll be your producer. And Rich says, you know what we should do? Instead of taking a cassette player, let's take the reel-to-reel machine. I said, well, awesome. So we go down. It was a beautiful day. We go in. I'm meeting him. I'm kind of starstruck, and he's a big built guy. I mean, he's in the NHL Hall of Fame, the whole 9 yards. He was just such a nice guy. So we sit down. Rich has got the tape threaded. He hits play and record. Here we go. The interview lasted 25 minutes. We got done, and Rod Gilbert grabbed me, and he said, that was fantastic. He goes, you really did your homework. I said, hey, man, I really appreciate it. And I noticed in the corner there were a few posters. I said, would you mind if we grabbed a poster? He goes, yeah, come on, I'll sign it for you. So Rich and I got a poster. I'm floating out on 33rd Avenue. We get to the subway. All of a sudden, this great half hour, the tape sounds muffled. And I'm going, what the heck? And he goes, well, maybe it's just the way it's playing on the machine. So we get back. Rich had actually twisted the tape by accident. I had to eat crow, go back and call Rod Gilbert. Jim says, call him now. And I did. He understood. We did it again. It wasn't as spontaneous as the first time, but it was still good. But lessons learned when you're starting out in the business.
It makes for an interesting story, and that's the main thing, right?
And you are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Riya Panel, here with Bill Horan, and today we're talking with Cosmo Leone, a WHPC and Nassau Community College alum who has had a successful career in radio and has written a new book all about it called Yes, It's Cosmo.
Now, Cosmo, I have to ask you, most people who are in radio would come from Iowa and come to New York. You left New York and went to Iowa. Can you explain that?
That's a good call.
What a twist.
I'll give you, I'll throw out a name, Bill. I doubt if Ria's heard because she's so much younger than us. That's why I don't like her. But anyway.
I'll pretend.
The journey, so to speak, with a lot of radio personalities, they get to a station, they work there 2 years, they try to go someplace else, make more money, get a bigger name, et cetera, et cetera. I knew for a fact that I was not New York caliber at the time. So what I did was I did the smartest thing. I applied to different stations, got some nibbles, nothing came to fruition. But I went to Iowa. I was, the station was KGRS, the FM station, and the AM station, which was legendary, was KBUR. I started doing afternoons. I was signed to do afternoons and nights, and then did that for about 4 months, and then started my morning journey. So it's interesting you brought that up about going back and forth, because there's a guy that you might remember on WABC, then became a national voiceover artist. He lived in Levittown. He grew up in Levittown. His name was Bob Cruz. Does that name ring a bell?
I've heard that name. Yeah.
Definitely know it.
Bob Cruz sounded a lot like Dan Ingram, and Bob Cruz was like me and a zillion other people that want to get in the radio. Hey, I'm going to practice in my closet or my bedroom, et cetera, et cetera. Bob Cruz's first job was in Florida. And if you work in Florida in radio, they usually say, hey, the pay is this much, but you get paid in sunshine too, you know. So he wasn't making a lot of money. So fast forward a couple of years after my first 2 years at my station, KGRS, my dad went to the candy store, and the candy store in Levittown, the guy who owned it, we used to call him the mayor because he knew everybody. His name was Bernie. So my dad went to get a daily news and a pack of cigarettes, and Bernie says to my dad, he goes, Ange, see that guy over there reading the magazine? He goes, yeah. Do you know who that is? He goes, no. He goes, that's Bob Cruz's father. He goes, really? He goes, you should go over there and brag about your son. He goes, go over there. So my dad goes over, goes, Mr. Cruz, my name is Angelo Leone. My son just started in radio. He's been doing it a couple of years. He goes, oh, it's nice to meet you. And Mr. Cruz was just fantastic. So they start talking about radio and Bob and myself. And Mr. Cruz looked at my father and he says, let me ask you a question. He goes, does your son call you and ask for money? My dad goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, when my son started out, I had to send him cash each month to pay the bills. He goes, has your son did your son do that? He goes, no. He goes, well, your son's doing way better than my son did when he first started. So you kind of look at success in different ways like that, you know, so.
Really so, and wow, you have some amazing stories, and obviously it's been a good choice for you, and I think a very smart. Everybody wants to come here, and they figure if they're not making it, they'll eventually get caught on. But you found someplace and seem very happy with what you're doing.
You know, it's you have to measure success in your own terms, no matter what you do. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I thought after a couple of years I'd be gone. I did send some tapes out. I had some nibbles. Wasn't really the thing. I have 2 incredible daughters and the most understanding wife in the world. And it was funny, once I decided this was the place and I started getting more popular and that type of thing, then all of a sudden I'm getting offers to be operations directors in Des Moines, in Cedar Rapids, and an afternoon personality in Cincinnati. And the one job in Cedar Rapids was a lock. I could have did mornings at WMT and that type of thing. And then all of a sudden my oldest daughter, she's a senior, she's bawling. I said, stop crying. We're not going anywhere. Smartest move I ever did. And, you know, you also, if you apply your craft properly as far as a morning person, you should be tied into the community. I just made so many friends. I mean, I could be here all day telling you about my book signing last week. It just went so fantastic. It was just, you know, we're hugging each other. We haven't seen each other in a long time. That to me was success.
Oh, it really is. And I think radio people, in my experience, seem to be the happiest people. They're doing what they enjoy, what they love, and I think we're all very grateful for it.
And speaking of that, you were this huge radio personality. So how did you go into thinking of, let me write this book? Yes, it's Cosmo, and what is it all about?
So, Rhea, my last job, I worked for a global talent assessment and management company called SHL. I was a development rep. Usually with that type of a job, it's under the sales team. I worked under the marketing team. So that's where my paycheck came from. So I had to do a lot of marketing and writing for the reps to get attention, number one, get meetings, of course, so that they get, make money, da-da-da. And I worked with a lot of different teams, and I was just blessed. I loved like 99% of them. It's just so easy to work with. And I got them a lot of meetings, and that, of course, made me popular with them. And they said, you're a really good writer. I said, thanks. And I kept hearing that. And I said, I'm close to retirement. I'm going to need something to do. And I have all these great stories. And as we all know, tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I sat down after my first month of retirement and I wrote 50 stories in 5 months. And it goes from my time at WHPC to my next college station, which was WCWP, then to my journey to Iowa. So there's stories all along the way. If it wasn't for radio, I wouldn't have met my wife. So that story's in there too. And there's also if I could share one really cool, colorful story about some of the people that I met at WHPC. People come and go each semester. I'm sure it does too, at the station. And this gentleman came in. His name was Don Nemeth. Don was kind of a big, husky guy. And he sits down and we're talking to get to know each other. Hey, you got a girlfriend, blah, 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 that type of thing. And I said, Don, what hobbies do you have? He goes, I'm a professional wrestler. And I'm like, get out of here. He goes, no, I'm a professional wrestler. And I said, okay, what's your wrestling name? It can't be Don Nemeth. He goes, no, I go by Rocky Rossetti.
No.
And I said, that's got to be the biggest crock, blah, blah, blah. And Don went into full pro wrestling mode. Cosmo, I don't know how you could say it's a crock. I've broken 3 fingers, dislocated, he went through the whole thing and we hit it off from that moment on. And actually, he had a match that I think half our radio team at WHPC went to. We just had a blast. But Don had the greatest news voice, but he wanted to be a disc jockey. His dad wanted to be a news guy because his father worked at WNBC. If I remember correctly, it was Harold Hart. Super nice guy. He came down to root us on one day. And we used to have a rule of thumb in our newsroom. You always have the radio on because you never know what's going to happen, right? So one day, it was a summer's day. There's only 2 of us in the station. Don's working on a newscast. I go into the newsroom, and lo and behold, he doesn't have the monitor on. So I went back, and I had a 20-minute tape show that I had just started for a college professor. And I said, I got to have a little fun with Don because I like to have fun. So I threw the board into Audition, and I queued up the electric version of Layla by Eric Clapton. And I found a reel-to-reel, and I started squinching the tape up to make it look like it busted. So I ran into the room. Don, the tape broke on the show. Can you do a newscast real quick? And he grabbed the news and he went into the news booth, and I hit the intro. Of course, it's not going out of the air. I'm Don Nemeth, WHPC News. Last night at the Nassau County, da-da-da-da-da, I won't let him go 2 stories. And then I hit the record. And he opens the door and goes ballistic. I am going to kill you. He went into wrestling mode. I'm getting twirled in the air like I'm a puppet in the hallway of the control room. It was hilarious. That was one of my favorite stories from WHPC and friends.
You are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Riya Panel, here with Bill Horan, and today we're talking with Cosmo Leone, a WHPC and Nassau Community College alum who has had a successful career in radio and has written a new book all about it called Yes, It's Cosmo.
Cosmo, we have to ask you now, You've had two careers, and still have it, between radio and being an author. What was the writing journey like? What did you experience? Was it hard to get published? How did you go about it?
The book is, Bill, self-published. I wish McGraw-Hill would have took it.
Oh, no.
No. What happened was I had a lot of mementos saved. I had a lot of, I'm blessed with a pretty good memory. And I just started writing, oh, this would be cool, this would be cool, this would be cool. And I just started writing. And, we had mentioned about a connection before with the community and the power that you folks do on the air in any radio station. I try to take those memories, and I'll share one of my fondest ones. Christmas Eve morning, 1988, the owner of the station comes in the control room and he says, "You have to pick up line 1." I said, "Who is it?" And in Burlington, Iowa, there's a very famous, delicious potato chip company called Sturzing's. They're so popular that the major potato chip companies continually try to buy them out. They want to stay local. So the gentleman's name was Tom Blackwood. I knew Tom. I said, "Tom, how's it going? What's going on?" He goes, "Can you put me on the air?" I said, "Yeah, well," but he goes, I got an issue that might help the community." So we go on the air and he says, "I had this morning on Christmas Eve delivered 10 tons of potatoes that I can't use for potato chips. The problem was the storage gave too much air. If I made the potato chips out of that, they would all be brown. They wouldn't be good. But they're usable for everybody else. I'm inviting anybody who would like any of the 10 tons of potatoes to come on down, and they're yours." Those potatoes went in 4 hours thanks to my broadcast.
Oh, whoa.
4 hours. And the coolest thing is that I remember, I'll never forget it. At the end of the day, people went up to Tom and his staff and said, "Merry Christmas," but he knew they meant it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's different than, "Hey, Bill, Merry Christmas." That was such a big deal. You know what I mean? It was just it.
Potato mania.
Potato mania. Hey, you know how many community groups, food banks, churches that they helped the poor that day? It was just astounding. 4 hours.
A win-win for everybody. And honestly, today it would go viral and
Oh, yeah.
the world would know about it.
Hey, when life gives you a potato,
exactly.
what can you do?
Make potato chips, right? Oh, I like that. That's going to be our motto. When life gives you a potato, make potato chips.
One in
There you
Iowa.
go.
How about, though, your writing process? Was that difficult? You said you self-published, but did you just blast it out? Or
The good news was I wrote 50 stories in 5 months. That was the easy part.
All right. Wow.
The editing, the formatting, especially the formatting, it just took a year and a day. I had planned on doing the book signing early in December. That did not happen. Luckily, and I have a website, cosmothemorning.com, where you can purchase the book, or you can get, if you want a signed copy. If not, you can get it on Amazon. But what happened was, Bill, I had to delay the book signing, and I had driven people for pre-orders. So the good news was, hey, a lot of people pre-ordered the book. Now they had to wait. So I did what I thought was best. During Christmas, I created a specific video for every person that wanted the book for a gift. So I did about 20 of those. People were just so understanding. I had, such a connection with them that they were just so patient about it. So I couldn't ask for more. But the formatting and the editing, and when you're a self-published author, you're running your own business. And my wife is not only my wife, but she's my operations director. So she's helped quite a bit with the process too.
True family business right there. Love it. And what was the publishing journey like that you went through? Was it easy? Do you think it was difficult?
Well, it's great now. It was. I'm not going to mince it. I was having some anxiety about it.
Understandable.
I had hired a company, which, quite frankly, they did a great job on the cover of the book. They did a great job with several other things, but the editing notes they made, we were going backwards. And I finally said to my wife, I said, "We're doing most of this." And my wife has got this talent. we could be driving today going back home. It's like, oh, on that billboard, there shouldn't be an apostrophe on that word, So she ended up doing most of the editing on that. And then one of the people that I got his start in the business when we lived in Iowa, he helped me with the formatting, and we got it together. And then kind of the rest is history right now. So I haven't had a bad review yet. Knock wood. It's just been a fun experience. It's not only my radio memoir, but it's also kind of like my love letter to where we raised our family and the community in Burlington.
Is there going to be a follow-up if you had a young intern or a coworker there? What advice would you give them about the book process?
The book process, I would say, best advice, unlike me, don't rush into it. Take your time with it. Be methodical with it. And if you're a young author listening to this, the one thing I've learned from fellow authors and friends, that everybody has their own process. I have a dear friend of mine that I had worked at my last job. He wrote his first novel, and it took him 10 years. Wow. 10 years. Whoa. I have a friend that wrote, I think, one of the best music books of all time. Give my buddy Dan Regan a plug, who lived in New York. He did a two-volume version of classic rock songs revealed. He interviewed a ton of authors on how they created their songs, but it took him 30 years.
Whoa!
Why? Because he had this idea. I can even tell you, I was getting done with a bike ride, and he called. He goes, "I got this idea for a book. What do you think?" I said, "It's great." So he was a TV director. He had a lot of frequent flyer miles. His wife was a stewardess, so he didn't have to worry about traveling expenses, except for hotels and stuff. And then all of a sudden, life got in the way with his kids. Fast forward to COVID, calls me up again. "Hey, I sent you some manuscripts. What do you think about me finishing the book?" I said, "What are you doing now? You're not doing anything. Go for it." And he's self-published, but that's a different journey. Everybody's going to have their own different journey, whether it's becoming a radio personality or an author or whatever else. But just be methodical about it. You're going to find bumps. Take a breath, go through it, and then start all over again.
Cosmo, where can people get more information about you and the book?
CosmoInTheMorning.com is my website. It has a lot of information about my radio career. You can get your own personalized copy there. If you don't want it signed, you can go to Amazon.com.
We want to thank Cosmo Leone, a WHPC and Nassau Community College alum. And he's now the author of a new book, Yes, It's Cosmo. Cosmo, thanks so much for being with us and entertaining us today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And Riya, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Coming from you, I appreciate it.
I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Riya Panel. We thank you for listening to this week's episode of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to whpc@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.